The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of rustic and refined, casting golden light across the empty dining room. Olivia Martinez moved between tables with practiced grace, adjusting silverware and smoothing linen napkins. Everything had to be perfect. It always did. At 30 years old, she had built this restaurant from nothing. What started as a food truck parked outside construction sites had transformed into one of Seattle's most talked-about farm-to-table establishments. She had poured 7 years of sweat, tears, and every dollar she could scrape together into making this dream real. Her phone buzzed on the bar. A text from Derek. "Babe, can we do a couples post today? My followers are asking. Engagement content gets amazing reach." Olivia stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. She loved Derek. At least she thought she did. He was handsome, charming, and his food blog had nearly 1 million followers. Their relationship looked perfect in photographs. Sometimes she wondered if it existed anywhere else. "Sure," she typed back. "Come by around 2." She slipped the phone into her apron pocket and returned to her preparations. The lunch rush would start soon, and her sous chef would arrive any minute. This was her sanctuary, the place where everything made sense. Here, she controlled the outcomes. A perfect sear, a balanced sauce, a happy customer. Simple equations with reliable results. The brass bell above the door chimed. Olivia glanced up, expecting to see Maria, her sous chef. Instead, a man stood in the doorway, backlit by the morning sun. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive charcoal suit that somehow looked casual on him. For a moment, she couldn't make out his features. Then he stepped forward, and her heart stopped. "Hello, Liv," that voice. Deep and warm, with a slight roughness at the edges. A voice she hadn't heard in 12 years, but would recognize anywhere. James. Her hand flew to her chest. James Whitmore. He smiled, and suddenly she was 16 again. Sitting on the hood of his beat-up Civic in the empty parking lot of Lincoln High School, eating gas station candy and talking about futures that seemed impossibly far away. "You remember me?" He walked closer, his eyes never leaving hers. They were the same stormy gray she remembered, but there was something different about them now. A confidence, a weight of experience. "Of course I remember you." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "What are you doing here?" "I mean, it's good to see you. I just never expected. I came to see you." He stopped a few feet away, respectful of her space. "I know it's been a long time, too long, but I had a good reason for coming back now." Olivia's mind raced. She had followed his career from a distance. Everyone had. James Whitmore, the poor kid from the South Side who put himself through MIT, who built a cybersecurity company in his dorm room and sold it for $300 million before he turned 25. The tech world called him a genius. Forbes called him one of the most eligible bachelors under 30-5. She called him the boy who used to share his lunch with her when her mom forgot to pack one. "James, I don't understand. Why now? Why after all this time?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, cream-colored, slightly worn at the edges. He held it out to her. Because of this. Her hands trembled as she took it. The moment she saw the handwriting on the front, she knew. Her 16-year-old scrawl, faded but still legible. The Olivia and James marriage pact. To be opened on Olivia's 30th birthday. Oh my God. She pressed her fingers to her lips. "I can't believe you kept this. Open it." She broke the seal, now brittle with age. Inside was a single sheet of notebook paper, torn from a spiral-bound book. She unfolded it and read the words they had written together one late night after a terrible day, when her mother's boyfriend had thrown her out, and James had found her crying behind the school. Olivia Martinez and James Whitmore. Being of sound mind and body, do hereby make the following pact. If neither of us is married by the time Olivia turns 30, we will marry each other. No questions asked. No backing out. Because we know that if we end up with each other, we'll be safe. We'll be home. Below that, 2 signatures. Hers in purple gel pen. His in black ballpoint. And the date. October 15th, 12 years ago. "We were kids." She looked up at him, searching his face. "We were scared and hurt, and we didn't know what we were saying. I knew exactly what I was saying. He took a step closer. I've known since the day I wrote it, and I've spent the last 12 years becoming someone worthy of that promise. I'm engaged. The words burst out of her, desperate. I'm engaged to Derek Sullivan. We've been together for 2 years. We're planning a wedding. Something flickered across James's face. Pain, maybe? Or disappointment. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that calm, steady expression. I know. I saw it online. Congratulations. Then why are you here? Because a promise is a promise. Live. And because I needed to know. I needed to look you in the eye and see if there was any part of you that still remembered us. The real us, before life got complicated. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Derek, probably asking about camera angles or lighting. She ignored it. Of course I remember. Her throat felt tight. James, you were my best friend. You were the only person who really saw me back then, but that was a lifetime ago. We're different people now, are we? He moved closer still, near enough that she could smell his cologne. Something clean and woodsy. Because when I look at you, I see the same girl who used to tell me about the restaurant she'd own someday. The one who knew the name of every herb and could describe exactly how each dish would taste. You did it live. You made it real. Tears pricked her eyes. Derek had never once asked about the dream behind the restaurant. He only cared about how it photographed. Why did you really come back? She whispered. James reached out slowly, giving her time to move away. When she didn't, he tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. Because I've spent 12 years building an empire, making more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. Being successful by every measure that matters to the world. And none of it meant anything because you weren't there to share it with me. So I came back to honor our promise. Even if you say no, even if you choose him, at least I'll know I tried. The door chimed again. This time it was Maria, stopping short when she saw them standing so close together. Sorry, boss. Should I come back? Olivia stepped away from James, her professional mask sliding back into place. No, it's fine. Come in, Maria. We need to prep for lunch service. She turned back to James, her voice steadier now. I can't do this right now. I have a restaurant to run, a fiancé waiting for me, a whole life that you're not part of. I understand. He pulled a business card from his wallet and set it on the nearest table. But when you're ready to talk, really talk, call me. I'm staying at the Fairmont, room 2847. The offer stands. Live. 30 days. Just give me 30 days to remind you what we had. What we could have again? He walked to the door, then paused and looked back. Happy birthday, by the way. I never forgot. Then he was gone, leaving Olivia standing in her restaurant with a 12-year-old. Promise in her hands and her carefully constructed life suddenly feeling like a beautifully plated dish that tasted of nothing at all. The lunch service passed in a blur. Olivia moved through the kitchen on autopilot, calling out orders and checking plates, but her mind was elsewhere. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw James standing in her dining room, holding that envelope like it contained the secrets of the universe. Maybe it did. By the time Derek arrived at 2 o'clock, she had worked herself into a state of carefully controlled chaos. He breezed in wearing his signature look, designer jeans, a perfectly fitted Henley, and expensive sneakers that probably cost more than her monthly insurance payment. There's my beautiful fiancé. He swept her into a kiss that felt more performative than passionate. Ready for our content? I was thinking we could do a series of shots at the bar. The lighting is incredible right now. Olivia forced a smile. Sure, let me just grab my jacket. As Derek set up his phone on a tripod, adjusting angles and testing filters, she caught sight of James's business card, still sitting on the corner table where he'd left it. She had meant to throw it away a dozen times. Instead, she'd found herself picking it up, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Babe, you're not even looking at the camera. Derek's voice had that edge of irritation he got when things didn't go exactly as planned. Come on, we need to get this right. Smile like you mean it. She smiled. She always smiled. They took the photos. Derek kissed her cheek while she laughed on cue. They held hands across the bar while he gazed adoringly at her profile. To anyone watching, they were the perfect couple. Happy, in love, living the dream. "These are going to get amazing engagement," Derek said, already scrolling through the shots. "Look at this one. God, we look good together, Derek. Can I ask you something?" He didn't look up from his phone. "Why do you love me?" That got his attention. He glanced up, confusion crossing his handsome features. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one. Why do you love me?" He laughed, uncomfortable. "Because you're beautiful, talented, successful. Because we make sense together. Because our brands complement each other perfectly. Our brands." She repeated the words slowly, tasting their emptiness. "You know what I mean?" He reached for her hand. "We're a power couple. People look at us and see success. That matters. Live. What about when the cameras are off? What about the parts of me that aren't successful or put together? What about the girl who still has nightmares about being homeless? Who eats cereal for dinner when she's too tired to cook? Who sometimes cries in the walk-in freezer because the pressure gets too heavy?" Derek's expression shifted to something like concern, but it didn't reach his eyes. Where is this coming from? Did something happen today? She thought about telling him. About James, about the promise, about the way her heart had recognized something the moment he walked through the door. But Derek was already opening his mouth to speak again. "Look, if you're having cold feet about the wedding, that's normal. But we've come too far to back out now. The venue is booked, the photographer is secured, and I've already told my followers about the spring ceremony. We can't just cancel, can't we?" The question hung in the air between them. "Livia, be serious. Think about what you're saying. I'm being serious. I'm asking if our relationship can survive without an audience." Derek stood, his jaw tightening. "I don't know what's gotten into you today, but I don't appreciate it. I have a meeting with a potential sponsor in an hour. We can talk about this later when you're being rational." He gathered his equipment and left without kissing her goodbye. Olivia sat alone at the bar, the late afternoon sun painting shadows across the empty restaurant. Her phone sat in front of her next to James's card. She stared at both for a long moment. Then she picked up the card and dialed. He answered on the second ring. "Live the 30 days, she said quietly. "Tell me more about what you're proposing." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Meet me for dinner. Somewhere that isn't your restaurant, isn't public, isn't about appearances. Just two old friends catching up? That's all this is?" She asked. "Two old friends? That's all I'm asking for right now. The rest we figure out as we go." "Where?" "Do you remember Pike Place Market? The little Italian place in the corner, the one that doesn't take reservations." She did remember. They used to go there in high school, back when they could barely afford to split a plate of pasta. Mama Rosa's, 8 o'clock. Just you and me and the best carbonara in Seattle. "James, I don't know if this is a good idea." "Probably not," he admitted. "But when has that ever stopped us?" She hung up before she could change her mind. The rest of the afternoon crept by. Olivia went through the motions of closing the restaurant, reviewing inventory, checking the schedule for tomorrow. Maria watched her with knowing eyes but said nothing. She was good like that. At 7:30, Olivia stood in front of her bedroom mirror, changing outfits for the 4th time. "What did you wear to dinner with the boy who became a billionaire? The man who kept a promise for 12 years? The person who made you question everything you thought you wanted?" She settled on jeans and a simple cashmere sweater. No makeup beyond mascara and lip gloss. If this was about being real, she needed to show up as herself. Mama Rosa's looked exactly the same as it had 12 years ago. The same red checkered tablecloths, the same photos of Italy on the walls, the same smell of garlic and tomatoes that made her mouth water the moment she walked in. James was already there, sitting at a corner table. He'd changed too, trading the expensive suit for jeans and a navy sweater. He looked younger like this, more like the boy she remembered. "Came," he said, standing as she approached. "I almost didn't." She slid into the seat across from him. "I must have turned my car around 3 times. What made you keep coming back? Curiosity, maybe? Or stupidity?" I haven't decided yet, he laughed, and the sound wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. I'll take either one. They ordered the carbonara and a bottle of red wine that cost more than their entire meals used to. As they ate, they talked. About everything and nothing. About the restaurant and his company, about the years apart and the paths they'd taken. About her mother, who had finally gotten sober 5 years ago and now lived in Arizona. About his father, who had passed away 3 years back, never knowing his son had become successful. I wanted to call you when Dad died, James admitted, swirling wine in his glass. You were the only person I wanted to talk to. But I didn't know if I had the right anymore. You always have the right. The words came out before she could stop them. James, no matter what happened, no matter how much time passed, you were my person. You're still my person in a lot of ways. And why did we lose touch? She looked down at her plate. Because I was scared. When you left for MIT, you were going to this whole new world, and I was staying here barely scraping by. I thought it would be easier to let you go than to watch you outgrow me. Liv, he reached across the table, covering her hand with his. I never outgrew you. I built everything thinking about the day I could. Come back and show you that the poor kid you believed and actually made something of himself, you didn't need to prove anything to me. Maybe I needed to prove it to myself. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Every deal I closed, every company I acquired, every success I had. There was this voice in the back of my head asking, is this enough? Is this enough to deserve her? Tears stung her eyes. That's insane. You always deserved everything good. So did you. So do you. He squeezed her hand gently, which is why I have to ask, are you happy with him? With Derek? Really happy? The question she'd been avoiding all day. All year, maybe? I don't know, she whispered. I thought I was. He's everything I should want. Stable, successful, attractive. We look good together. That's not what I asked. She pulled her hand back, wrapping her arms around herself. When I'm with Derek, I feel like I'm playing a role. The successful restaurateur, the perfect fiancé, the woman who has it all figured out. But I'm exhausted, James. I'm so tired of performing. You never had to perform for me. I know. No. She looked up, meeting his eyes. That's what scares me. You see all the messy parts, all the broken pieces, and you still came back. What if I disappoint you? What if the reality of me doesn't match the memory? James signaled for the check, then stood and held out his hand. Come with me. I want to show you something. Where are we going? Do you trust me? She stared at his outstretched hand. This was a choice point, she realized. She could say no. Go home, marry Derek. Live the life she'd carefully constructed. Safe, predictable, empty, or she could take his hand and leap into the unknown. She took his hand. They walked through Pike Place Market as it closed down for the night. Vendors packing up their flowers and fish and fresh produce. James led her to the waterfront, where the city lights reflected off the dark water of Puget Sound. I bought a building, he said suddenly. 3 blocks from your restaurant. I'm turning it into a culinary incubator. A place where young chefs from underprivileged backgrounds can train, experiment, launch their own concepts. I want to call it the Martinez House. Livia's breath caught. You're naming it after me? After us? After 2 scared kids who dreamed bigger than their circumstances allowed. I want to give other people the chance we barely got. James, that's beautiful, but I can't accept that. It's too much. I'm not asking you to accept it. I'm asking you to help me run it. Be my partner in this. Use your expertise, your experience, your heart. Build something that matters with me. She turned to face him fully. The wind off the water whipped her hair around her face, and he reached up to tuck it back, his hand lingering against her cheek. Why are you really doing this? She asked. The truth. Because I love you. The words were simple, direct, devastating. I've loved you since we were 16 years old, and you told me that someday you'd make the best chocolate souffle in the world just to prove your mother wrong about you being worthless. I've loved you through every year apart, through every success that meant nothing without you there to share it. And I'll love you whether you choose me or not. But I had to come back. I had to try. Because that promise we made wasn't just about marriage. It was about being each other's home. And Liv, I've been homeless without you. A tear slipped down her cheek. I'm engaged. I know. I have a whole life planned out. I know. This is crazy. I know. He smiled softly. But so were we, once upon a time. And we survived anyway. She closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Behind her was Derek, security, the life she'd built brick by careful brick. In front of her was James' uncertainty. It's the possibility of something real. When she opened her eyes, she knew what she had to do. I can't just walk away from Derek without talking to him first. I owe him honesty at least. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, promise. He pulled the old pact from his pocket, worn and creased from being carried. I've kept this promise for 12 years. I'm not breaking it now. She took the paper, holding it like the precious thing it was. Give me 2 days. I need to figure out how to do this right. He nodded, then leaned in and kissed her forehead gently. 2 days, but Liv, whatever you decide, make sure it's what you want. Not what you think you should want. Not what looks good or makes sense. What actually makes you happy? She drove home with her heart in her throat and the old promise on the passenger seat beside her. Derek was waiting in her apartment. Scrolling through his phone on the couch, he looked up when she entered. Where were you? I've been calling. I was at dinner. With an old friend. This must have been some friend. You're glowing. She sat down across from him, her hands folded in her lap. Derek, we need to talk. Really talk. He set down his phone, concern flickering across his face. Okay, what's going on? Do you love me? She asked. Not the version of me that looks good in photos or brings you to cool restaurants or makes your brand look better. The real me. The messy, complicated, sometimes broken me. Of course I do. Liv, where's this coming from? Answer the question. What do you love about me? He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I love that you're ambitious. That you're beautiful. That we want the same things. Do we? Do we want the same things? A successful life. Recognition. Respect. Yeah, I think we do. She shook her head slowly. I don't think we do. I think I've been so busy trying to be the person I thought I should be that I forgot who I actually am. And I don't think you know either. Is this about that friend you had dinner with? His voice sharpened. Is this about some guy? It's about me. It's about us. It's about the fact that we've been engaged for 6 months and you still don't. Know that I'm allergic to shellfish, or that I wanted to be a teacher before I wanted to be a chef, or that my favorite color is actually green, not blue. Derek stood pacing. So what do you want to call off the wedding because I don't know your favorite color? That's insane. I want to call off the wedding because when I'm with you, I feel alone. The words landed like stones in still water. Derek stared at her, his expression cycling through shock, anger, and something that might have been relief. You're serious? I'm serious. He ran a hand through his hair. There's someone else, isn't there? There's someone who makes me feel seen, who knows all the parts of me you never asked about. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I deserve more than a relationship that exists for appearances. And so do you. He grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. At the door, he turned back one last time. When this blows up in your face and you realize what you gave up, don't come crawling back. I won't, she said quietly. The door closed behind him with a finality that should have hurt. It's more than it did. Olivia sat in the silence of her apartment, her engagement ring heavy on her finger. She slipped it off, setting it on the coffee table. Without it, her hand felt lighter, freer. She picked up her phone and sent a text to James. Tomorrow noon, my restaurant. I'll have an answer for you. His response came immediately. I'll be there. Morning light filtered through the windows of rustic and refined, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Olivia had arrived early, needing the quiet comfort of her kitchen before James showed up. She moved through familiar motions, chopping vegetables, reducing sauces, her hands knowing the work even while her mind spun in circles. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw two different futures. One safe, predictable, a return to what she knew. The other terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. By the time Maria arrived at 10, Olivia had prepped enough food for 3 services. "Boss, you okay?" Maria asked, taking in the mountain of mise en place. "You trying to feed an army?" I needed to think, and cooking helps. It's the only thing that makes sense right now. Olivia set down her knife, wiping her hands on her apron. Everything else is chaos. Maria leaned against the counter, her dark eyes knowing. "This about the guy who came in yesterday? The one in the expensive suit who looked at you like you hung the moon? How did you know?" "Please. I've worked with you for 4 years. I've seen you with Derek plenty of times. You never looked at him the way you looked at Suit Guy. Not once." Olivia slumped onto a stool. "His name is James. We made a promise when we were kids that if neither of us was married by 30, we'd marry each other. He came back to honor it, and you're engaged to someone else." "Was engaged. I broke it off last night." Maria's eyebrows shot up. "Damn, okay, how do you feel?" "Terrified, relieved, like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff and I'm about to jump, but I don't know if there's water below or rocks." "You love him?" "This James guy?" Olivia closed her eyes. "I think I never stopped." "Then what's the problem? What if it doesn't work? What if the memory is better than the reality? What if I'm giving up everything I've built for something that falls apart in 6 months?" Maria came around the counter and took Olivia's hands. "Listen to me. You built this restaurant from nothing. You survived being homeless. You survived an alcoholic mother. You survived every hard thing life threw at you. You're not fragile. You're not going to break if this doesn't work out. But you know what will break you? Spending the rest of your life wondering, what if?" Tears pricked Olivia's eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just never asked." Maria squeezed her hands. "Now go wash your face. Your billionaire is going to be here in an hour, and you've got flour on your nose." Olivia laughed through her tears and went to clean up. At precisely noon, the bell above the door chimed. James walked in wearing jeans and a white button-down rolled up at the sleeves. He looked nervous, she realized. This powerful, successful man was nervous about what she might say hi. She said hi. He stayed by the door, respecting her space. "You said you'd have an answer." "I do. But first, I need to say something." He nodded. Waiting, Olivia took a breath. "When my mom kicked me out the first time, I was 14. I slept in the park for 3 nights before you found me. You brought me to your house, and your dad made up the couch for me without asking questions. You gave me your pillow because mine smelled like cigarettes. You sat up with me when I had nightmares. You made me feel safe when I didn't think I'd ever feel safe again. Liv. ... Let me finish." She stepped closer. "You were the first person who ever made me believe I could be more than my circumstances. You saw potential in me when all I saw was survival. And when you left for MIT, I told myself I was letting you go because I loved you too much to hold you back. But the truth is, I was scared. I was scared that if you got too far away, you'd see I wasn't worth coming back for. You were always worth coming back for. I know that now, and I know that breaking up with Derek was the right choice, even if you and I don't work out. Because you reminded me what it feels like to be truly seen, to be loved for who I am, not what I represent. So what's your answer?" His voice was rough with emotion. She pulled the old pact from her pocket, the paper soft from age and handling. "I want to honor this promise, but not because we made it when we were kids. Because I choose you now, today, with full knowledge of what I'm risking and what I'm gaining." James closed the distance between them in 3 strides. "Say it again?" "I choose you, James Whitmore. I choose the possibility of us over the certainty of being alone. I choose the risk over the safety. I choose love over fear." He cupped her face in his hands, his gray eyes searching hers. "Are you sure? Because once I kiss you, Once we do this for real, I'm all in. No halfway, no trial period, no escape clause. Just us building something true. I've never been more sure of anything." He kissed her then. And it was nothing like the gentle brush of lips she'd shared with Derek. This was recognition. Homecoming. 12 years of waiting compressed into a single moment. She melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and felt every wall she'd built come crashing down. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, James rested his forehead against hers. "I have a confession," he said. "What?" "I didn't just come back because of the promise. I came back because 3 months ago, I saw an article about your restaurant. There was a photo of you in the kitchen, and you were smiling, but your eyes were sad. I recognized that look. It's the same one you had when you were trying to convince everyone you were fine when you were breaking inside. And I couldn't stand the thought of you being unhappy." Olivia pulled back to look at him. "So you flew across the country, tracked me down, and decided to upend my entire life? When you say it like that, it sounds unhinged." She laughed. "It is unhinged. It's also the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me." "Good, because I have more unhinged plans." "Like what?" He pulled her to the nearest table and sat, pulling her down beside him. "Like the culinary incubator I told you about. I meant it. I want you to help me run it. I want us to build it together. James, I have this restaurant. I can't just abandon it. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to expand. Imagine it. Rustic and refined as the flagship. The incubator as the training ground. Young chefs learn here, under your guidance, then launch their own concepts with our support. We create a whole ecosystem." The vision was intoxicating. "That would be incredible. Will be incredible. But only if you want it. I'm not trying to take over your life, Liv. I'm trying to build a life with you." She thought about it, really let herself imagine the possibility. Working side by side with James, creating something meaningful, giving back to kids who were where they'd once been. It felt right in a way nothing had felt right in years. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it. All of it." Yeah, but on one condition. Name it. We do this right. We date, we take our time, we figure out who we are together now, not who we were at 16. The promise got you here, but I want to build something real from this point forward." James smiled, that slow, warm smile that made her heart skip. "I can work with that. Though I should tell you, I fully intend to marry you someday. Just so we're clear." "Noted, but you'll have to propose properly. With a ring and everything?" "Deal." Kissed her again, softer this time. "I have one more thing to show you." He pulled out his phone and opened a folder of photos. Olivia gasped. There were architectural renderings of a building, beautiful and modern, with huge windows and an open kitchen visible from the street. "This is the incubator. This is our future. If you want it." She scrolled through the images, seeing it all come together. Teaching kitchens, dining rooms, office space, even small apartments for chefs in the program. It was perfect. "When did you have time to plan all this?" "I've been working on it for 6 months. Ever since I saw that photo and decided I was done waiting. I just needed you to say yes." Olivia set down the phone and turned to face him fully. "You know we're crazy, right? This whole thing is insane. Completely." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "But we've always been a little crazy. It's part of our charm," she laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "So what happens now?" "Now we start." He stood and pulled her up with him. "We build our empire. We help other people build theirs. We figure out this whole relationship thing one day at a time. And eventually, when the timing is right, I'm going to ask you to marry me for real, and I'm going to say yes." "You sound pretty confident about that." "I am. Because you're my person, James. You always have been." He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. Outside, the city moved on, people rushing to their next destination. Unaware that inside this small restaurant, 2 people were choosing each other against all odds. Maria appeared from the kitchen, took one look at them, and grinned. "So I'm guessing this means we need to start hiring?" Olivia laughed. "Yeah, we're going to need a lot more staff." "On it, boss." Maria disappeared back into the kitchen, leaving them alone again. She's good, James observed. She's the best. You'll see. Everyone here is. Our team, he said softly. I like the sound of that. Me too. They stood there in the afternoon light, holding each other. To people who had found their way back after 12 years of wandering, the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Building something real never was, but they would do it together. Later that evening, after the dinner service was over and the restaurant was closed, they sat on the floor of the kitchen sharing a plate of the chocolate souffle Olivia had perfected years ago. This is incredible, James said around a mouthful. You did it. The best chocolate souffle in the world. Told you I would. He set down his fork and pulled something from his pocket. The old pact carefully folded. What should we do with this? He asked. Olivia took it, smoothing out the creases. I think we should keep it. As a reminder of what? That sometimes the promises we make when we're young and scared are the ones worth keeping. That home isn't a place, it's a person. That love is worth the risk. James kissed her temple. I love you, Olivia Martinez. I've loved you for 12 years, and I'll love you for 12 more. And then another 12 after that. That's a lot of 12s. I'm good at math. I can keep counting. She leaned into him, feeling safe and seen and completely terrifyingly happy. 6 months later, the Martinez house opened its doors to its first class of young chefs. The building was everything the renderings had promised and more. Olivia stood in the teaching kitchen, watching James cut the ribbon while cameras flashed and reporters asked questions. He looked over at her and winked, and she felt that familiar warmth spread through her chest. After the ceremony, after the speeches and the tours and the endless photographs, they found themselves alone on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city. We did it, Olivia said. Leaning against the railing, we did. James stood behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist. Ready for the next phase? What's the next phase? He turned her around, and that's when she saw it. He was holding a small velvet box, his expression nervous and hopeful. James, ... I know I said we'd take our time, and we have. 6 months of dating, building, learning each other, and every single day I've been more certain. He opened the box, revealing a simple but stunning emerald-cut diamond. Marry me, Liv. Not because of a promise we made as kids, but because I can't imagine building this life with anyone else. Because you're my home, my partner, my everything. Marry me and make me the happiest man alive. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, 1,000 times yes. We slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Everything about them fit perfectly. They kissed as the sun set over Seattle. Two people who had found their way back to each other, who had chosen love over fear, risk over safety, truth over performance. The promise they'd made at 16 had brought them together. But the promise they were making now, to build a life of meaning and purpose and love, that was the one that would carry them forward. In the distance, the lights of rustic and refined glowed warm against the darkening sky. Their restaurant, their legacy, their beginning, and this time they were writing the story together. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.